Ever walked into your basement, looked up at that tangle of old pipes, and wondered which ones are a ticking time bomb? Maybe you've noticed some rust-colored water coming out of the tap, or maybe you just bought an older home and you're not sure what's lurking behind those walls. Here's the thing. There are 12 types of pipes I see over and over again in older homes, and every single one of them will eventually fail. Some of them are a health hazard. Right now, in this video, I'm going to walk you through all 12, show you exactly how to identify each one, and tell you which ones need your attention first. Plus, stick around to the end because I'll share the one inspection trick I use that can save you thousands of dollars in emergency repairs. Let's get into it. Knowing what kind of pipes are running through your home is one of the most valuable things you can learn as an older homeowner. Most people never think about it until something breaks, and by then you're dealing with water damage, mold, or worse. The good news is that identifying these pipes is actually pretty straightforward once you know what to look for. So let's start with the basics of how to figure out what you've got. Before we get into the 12 specific pipe types, I want to teach you a quick method I use on every inspection. Head down to your basement or crawl space with a flashlight, a refrigerator magnet, and a flathead screwdriver. Those 3 things will help you identify almost anything you find. First, look at the color of the pipes. Copper is going to be that familiar reddish brown or sometimes green where it's oxidized. Galvanized steel looks silvery gray when it's newer, but in an old home, it's usually a dull, rough gray with crusty buildup at the joints. Plastic pipes come in different colors depending on the type, and that color is actually your best clue. White is usually PVC or CPVC. Black plastic could be ABS or something much worse that we'll talk about later. And gray plastic is the one that should immediately get your attention. Now, that refrigerator magnet is for telling steel from copper or brass. If the magnet sticks, you've got steel. If it doesn't stick, you're looking at copper, brass, or bronze. The screwdriver is for gently scratching the surface of a pipe when you're not sure what it is. If you scratch a pipe and see a shiny silver color underneath, that's lead. If you see a bright copper color, it's copper that's just been painted or corroded over. Take a few minutes and do this before we go any further. It'll make everything I'm about to tell you much more useful. All right, let's start with the most dangerous one first. Lead pipes. If your home was built before 1930, there's a real chance you have lead supply pipes bringing water into your house. Lead is a soft, dark gray metal, and here's the easiest way to identify it. Take that flat head screwdriver and scratch the surface. If it scratches easily and reveals a shiny, silvery, bright metal underneath, that's lead. Copper and steel won't scratch that way. Lead pipes also have a slightly swollen, bulging look at the joints, where they were wiped together with molten lead, almost like a blob of melted candle wax. Now, even if you don't have lead pipes themselves, you might have lead solder on your copper joints. This is extremely common in homes built before 1986, which is when the Safe Drinking Water Act banned lead solder for potable water lines. If you look at your copper pipe joints and see a dull gray solder that looks different from the bright, shiny silver of modern lead-free solder, that's a concern. The health risk here is real. Lead leaches into your water, especially when the water sits in the pipes overnight, or when you have slightly acidic water. There's no safe level of lead exposure, especially for children and older adults. What should you do? First, get a water test. Your local water utility may offer free lead testing, or you can buy a certified test kit for around $30 to $50. If lead levels come back above 15 parts per billion, which is the EPA action level, you need to act. For lead supply pipes coming into the home, you'll want a licensed plumber to replace them. This typically runs anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, depending on the length of the run and how accessible it is. For lead solder joints on copper pipes, a whole house repipe is the gold standard. But as a temporary measure, always flush your cold water tap for at least 60 seconds every morning before drinking from it. Next up is galvanized steel, and this one is everywhere. If your home was built between about 1920 and 1960, your supply lines are very likely galvanized steel. These are iron pipes coated with a layer of zinc to prevent rust. The problem is that zinc coating wears away over the decades, and once it does, the pipe rusts from the inside out. I've pulled galvanized pipes out of homes where the interior opening was reduced from 3/4 inch down to about the diameter of a pencil. Imagine trying to take a shower through a pencil-sized hole. That's why your water pressure keeps dropping. You can identify galvanized steel by its threaded fittings. Look at where two pipes connect. If you see large hexagonal fittings that were screwed together, that's threaded galvanized. The magnet test confirms it because that magnet will stick right to it. The pipe itself will feel rough and crusty, especially near the fittings, and you might see orange or reddish-brown rust stains in your sinks and tubs. Here's what most people don't realize. Galvanized pipes don't just reduce your water pressure. They also trap sediment and bacteria inside all that rust buildup. And in many older homes, the galvanized pipes were originally connected to lead service lines coming in from the street, which means the rust buildup inside can actually contain lead. Replacing galvanized supply lines with copper or PEX, which is a flexible cross-linked polyethylene tubing, is one of the best investments you can make in an older home. A full repipe with PEX typically costs between $4,000 and $8,000 for an average-sized home, and it's significantly less than copper. Now let's talk about the one that scares me the most, and that's polybutylene. If your home was built between about 1978 and 1995, look for gray flexible plastic pipes, usually with copper or aluminum crimp rings at the fittings. The pipe itself will be stamped with the letters PB, followed by a number like 2110. This stuff was marketed as the pipe of the future. Millions of homes were plumbed with it, and it turned out to be one of the worst plumbing failures in American history. Polybutylene reacts with the chlorine and other oxidants in municipal water supplies. Over time, the pipe becomes brittle and develops microfractures from the inside that you can't see. Then one day, without any warning, it splits wide open. I've been in homes where the homeowner had no idea they had polybutylene until a pipe burst in the ceiling and caused $20,000 in water damage. There was a massive class action lawsuit over this, but that settlement has long since expired. If you find polybutylene in your home, my honest advice is to plan for a full repipe. Don't wait for it to fail. Many insurance companies are either refusing to cover homes with polybutylene or charging significantly higher premiums. And if you're planning to sell your home, know that many buyers will walk away or demand a major price reduction when an inspection reveals polybutylene. Budget for the repipe and get it done while you can do it on your own timeline instead of in an emergency. By the way, if you're finding this advice helpful, you should know it's just a small sample of what I've put into my new book, 100 Old House Fixes that save you thousands. It's packed with practical old house fixes that can help you avoid expensive repair bills. To grab your copy, you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, or just use the first link in the description below. All right, let's continue. Number 4 is original cast iron drain lines. Now, cast iron is actually a great pipe material. It's strong, it's quiet, and it lasts a long time. But nothing lasts forever. And if your home still has its original cast iron drains from the 1940s, 50s, or 60s, those pipes are now 60 to 80 plus years old. Cast iron's typical lifespan is about 50 to 75 years, which means a lot of it is living on borrowed time. The warning signs are pretty clear once you know what to look for. Go down to your basement and look at the bottom of your cast iron drain pipes. If you see rust streaks, white or orange mineral deposits, or dark wet spots on the outside of the pipe, that's active corrosion eating through the wall. I've literally pushed my screwdriver through the bottom of cast iron pipes that looked fine from the top, but were paper thin underneath. The bottom corrodes first because that's where water and waste sit. Also listen for gurgling drains or notice if you're getting frequent backups. Cast iron develops a rough, pitted interior over time that catches debris and builds up scale. Replacement is typically done with PVC or ABS plastic, and depending on whether you're replacing a single horizontal run or the entire drain stack, costs can range from $1,500 to $15,000. Number 5 is Orangeberg pipe, and if you've never heard of it, count yourself lucky. Orangeberg is made of compressed wood fibers bound together with a coal tar pitch adhesive. Yes, your sewer line might literally be made of something closer to cardboard than pipe. This was installed from the 1940s through the 1970s, mostly as sewer laterals running from the house to the street. It was cheap and light, which made it popular with builders. The problem is that Orangeberg absorbs moisture, deforms under soil pressure, and eventually collapses. I've scoped sewer lines where the Orangeberg had gone from a round pipe to a flat oval, losing most of its capacity. If your home was built in that era and you're getting sewer backups, slow drains throughout the house, or you notice a depression in your yard along the path from your house to the street, Orangeberg could be the culprit. A sewer camera inspection, which costs between $200 and $400, can confirm it. Replacement with modern PVC typically runs $3,000 to $7,000 depending on depth and length. Number 6 is old brass and bronze supply pipes and fittings. These were common in higher-end homes built between the early 1900s and the 1960s. Brass has a gold-yellow color that darkens to a brownish patina over time. The main concern with brass is that older formulations contain significant amounts of LED, sometimes as much as 8%. This is called leaded brass, and it can contribute to lead contamination in your drinking water, particularly at the faucet connections and valve bodies where water contacts the brass directly. If you have original brass supply pipes and valves, get your water tested for LAD. If levels are elevated, replace the brass components with modern lead-free materials. Pay special attention to brass gate valves near your water heater and main supply. These are often the oldest brass components in the system. Number 7 is early generation CPVC, which stands for chlorinated polyvinyl chloride. This is a cream-colored or light yellowish plastic pipe that became popular starting in the 1980s as a cheaper alternative to copper. Now, modern CPVC is a perfectly acceptable material, but the early formulations, particularly those installed in the 1980s and early 1990s, have a known problem with becoming brittle over time, especially when exposed to certain chemicals found in common household products like insect sprays, paint, or even some types of pipe hangers. I've seen CPVC pipes that shattered like glass when someone bumped them during a routine water heater replacement. If you have early CPVC and you notice any yellowing, hairline cracks, or a brittle feel when you gently flex the pipe near a fitting, start planning for replacement. The good news is that replacing CPVC with PEX is relatively affordable and can often be done in sections rather than all at once. Number 8 is corroded copper with pinhole leaks. Copper is generally an excellent pipe material, but it's not immune to problems. In certain areas with aggressive water chemistry, particularly water that's slightly acidic or has high dissolved oxygen content, copper develops tiny pinhole leaks. These often show up as small green or bluish mineral deposits on the outside of the pipe, sometimes with a tiny crusty mound that almost looks like a small barnacle. The tricky thing about pinhole leaks is that they start small. You might see a tiny weep that barely drips, and you think it's no big deal. But where there's one, there are usually more forming that you can't see yet. If you're finding multiple pinhole leaks in your copper supply lines, it's a systemic issue with your water chemistry attacking the copper. A whole house water test can identify the problem, and solutions range from installing a whole house water treatment system to a full repipe with PEX, which is resistant to the corrosion that attacks copper. Number 9 is clay sewer laterals. Clay tile pipe was the standard for underground sewer lines from the late 1800s, right up through the 1950s and 60s. It's made from fired clay and typically comes in short 2-foot sections joined together. Clay is actually very durable against chemical degradation. The problem is those joints. Every 2 feet, you have a joint that can shift, separate, or allow tree root intrusion. And tree roots are absolutely relentless. They find those joints, push their way in, and eventually fill the entire pipe with a root mass. If you have mature trees anywhere near your sewer line path, and your home was built before 1960, get a camera inspection of your sewer lateral. Root intrusion, offset joints, and partial collapses are extremely common. Trenchless pipe lining, where a resin-coated liner is pulled through the existing pipe and cured in place, is a great option for clay pipes that are still structurally intact but have root problems. It typically costs $4,000 to $8,000 and avoids tearing up your entire yard. Number 10 is one that people overlook all the time, and that's the flexible supply lines under your sinks, behind your toilets, and connecting to your washing machine. Those braided stainless steel lines or the older white and gray plastic ones have a limited lifespan. The rubber interior degrades over time, and when one of these fails, it fails completely. I'm talking about a full-flow burst that can dump hundreds of gallons of water into your home in minutes. Older plastic supply lines should be replaced immediately. They become brittle and can crack without warning. Even braided stainless steel lines should be replaced every 8 to 10 years as preventive maintenance. They're only a few dollars each, and swapping them out takes about 5 minutes per connection. This is one of the cheapest and most important things you can do to prevent catastrophic water damage. I replace mine on a set schedule, and I keep a reminder on my calendar. Number 11 is old gate valves and main shutoffs. Every home has a main water shutoff valve, and in older homes, it's almost always an old gate valve. These are the round handle valves that you turn multiple times to open and close. The problem is that gate valves corrode internally and seize up when they're not operated regularly. So when you actually need to shut off your water in an emergency, you go to turn that valve and it won't budge. Or worse, the handle breaks off in your hand. I tell every homeowner with an older home to test their main shutoff valve right now, today. Turn it off slowly. Confirm the water stops, then turn it back on. If it's stiff, leaks around the handle, or doesn't fully stop the water, get it replaced with a modern quarter-turn ball valve. A plumber can typically do this for $200 to $400, and it's one of the most important safety upgrades in your entire home. You do not want to discover your shutoff doesn't work when water is pouring through your ceiling. Number 12 is asbestos cement pipe, also called transit pipe. This was used primarily from the 1930s through the 1970s for water mains, sewer lines, and sometimes as drain vents. It's a cement pipe reinforced with asbestos fibers. It's typically gray, looks like concrete, and has a slightly fibrous texture at any broken or cut edges. The concern here is twofold. First, the pipe is reaching the end of its lifespan and becoming brittle. Second, any cutting, breaking, or disturbance of the pipe can release asbestos fibers, which is a serious health hazard. If you suspect you have transit pipe, do not attempt to cut, break, or remove it yourself under any circumstances. This requires professional abatement. Have it identified by a qualified inspector, and if it needs replacement, hire a licensed contractor who is certified for asbestos removal. Your local health department can point you in the right direction. Now that you know all 12 pipe types, let's talk about how to prioritize, because you probably can't replace everything at once, and you shouldn't have to. Start with health hazards first. Lead pipes, lead solder, and leaded brass are your top priority because they're affecting your drinking water every single day. Get a water test, and if lead is present, act on it right away. Second, address the highest failure risks. Polybutylene and old flexible supply lines are ticking time bombs. Polybutylene can burst without warning, and a failed supply line under a sink can cause tens of thousands in water damage overnight. These should be next on your list. Third, deal with the aging infrastructure. Galvanized steel, original cast iron drains, and old gate valves are all deteriorating gradually. You usually have some time here, but don't wait for a crisis. If your galvanized pipes are giving you rust-colored water or low pressure, if your cast iron is showing corrosion, or if your shutoff valve is frozen, get these scheduled. Fourth, address the underground lines. Orangeberg, clay sewer laterals, and transit pipe are all underground and expensive to replace. But a camera inspection can tell you how urgent the situation really is. Spend the $200 to $400 on a sewer scope before you invest thousands in replacement. You might find that your clay pipes are in surprisingly decent shape. Or you might find that Orangeberg that's about to collapse. Finally, if you're on a tight budget, tackle things in sections. You don't have to repipe your entire home in one weekend. Replace the most critical sections first, do one bathroom at a time, or address the main supply line this year and the branches next year. A good plumber can help you create a phased plan that spreads the cost over time. Now, for that bonus tip I promised at the beginning, here it is. And it's something that has saved homeowners I've worked with thousands of dollars. Before you hire a plumber for any major pipe replacement, get a sewer camera inspection and a static water pressure test done first. The camera inspection, like I mentioned, costs $200 to $400 and gives you a complete picture of your underground drain and sewer condition. The static pressure test is even simpler. A plumber connects a pressure gauge to your hose bib and reads your incoming water pressure. It takes 5 minutes and costs almost nothing if it's done during another service call. Here's why this matters. When you know exactly what condition everything is in before you start, you can negotiate better, plan smarter, and avoid surprise change orders. I've seen homeowners save $2,000 to $3,000 simply because they went into the project with complete information instead of letting a plumber discover problems mid-job. Knowledge is leverage, and when a contractor knows that you understand your system, you tend to get better pricing and better work. Before you go, I want to make sure you know about my new book, 100 Old House Fixes That Save You Thousands. It goes deeper than we can in a single video with practical fixes, warning signs, and simple steps for older homes. If you want to avoid expensive repair bills before you call a plumber, this book is for you. Just scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to get your copy. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Take care of those old pipes before they take care of your wallet. I'll see you in the next one.